Once upon a time, in a land filled with sunshine and laughter, there was a village so pretty it looked like a painting. This village was home to King Chima, a king loved by all, because he was as wise as he was kind. His big heart reached out to everyone, making sure they were happy and safe. King Chima had a large family with two wives. His first wife, Uli, gave him three daughters, princesses who were as beautiful as the morning sun. Then there was Oluchi, his second wife, who gave him two brave sons, future kings of the land. The princesses were known for their playful hearts. Every day, they would run barefooted out of the palace, laughing and shouting, playing games and having fun. They would go to the river, splash water, and get all muddy. Their dresses got dirty, and their hair was a mess. But they didn't care. They felt happy and free. But not everyone thought this was how princesses should act. They're too wild, people would whisper. Why don't they behave like royalty? They wondered. This made their mother, Uli, very worried. She would often sit them down, her voice soft but firm. You are princesses, my dears. It's time to act like it. But the princesses would just giggle and run off, their spirits as free as the wind. They wanted to be like everyone else, to play, to explore, and to love the land they would one day watch over. This made some in the village call them foolish. Why can't they see they're not like us? They'd say. But the princesses didn't mind. They believed being true to oneself was more important than wearing a crown. So, despite their mother's worries and the villagers' whispers, the princesses continued to dance with the world, their hearts as wild and free as the beautiful village they called home. In this village, there's usually a festival that happens every year. This wasn't just any festival. It was for the princesses' brothers, to find brides. On the day of this festival, the village square was alive with colors, music, and the sweet smell of festival foods. Beautiful girls from the village and even from places far away came. They wore their prettiest dresses and danced beautifully, hoping one of the princes would pick them to be a bride. But in the palace, the three princesses watched from a window, their thoughts far away from the glitter and the gold. When men came asking for their hands, the princesses would find reasons to say no. He's too proud, one would say. He thinks his gold can buy love, another would sigh. Even when a very, very rich man from another village came with lots of gifts, the princesses just shook their heads. They splashed water on him when he said he wanted to marry all three to make his 7 wives. That made everyone in the village talk. How foolish, they said. Turning away all these rich and powerful men. Their parents, King Chima and Queen Uli, were puzzled and a bit sad. Why won't you marry? They'd ask. Your brothers are ready and you are the elder. But the princesses would only smile and say, when we find true love, we will know. The festival for their brothers was beautiful. Maidens danced and laughed, hoping to catch the prince's eyes. And though the princesses admired the courage of these girls, their hearts longed for something different. They didn't want a love that was found in a day. They wanted a love that understood them, that saw beyond their crowns. As the festival ended and the princes found their brides, the village talked even more. What will become of the 3 foolish princesses? They whispered. But the princesses weren't worried. They believed in their hearts that true love wasn't something you could find in a festival. It was something that found you, in its own time and its own way. As the seasons changed and the moon danced its way through the sky, the princesses grew into beautiful young women. They watched the leaves turn from green to gold, thinking about love, about what it meant to them. They saw their brothers happy with their brides, and something stirred in their hearts. Maybe, just maybe, It was time to open their hearts to love. But it had to be true love, the kind that saw them for who they really were. One evening, under a sky filled with stars, the princesses went to their father, King Chima. They had a request, one that made the king's eyebrows rise in surprise. "Father," they said, their voices echoing with hope, "we want a festival of our own, a festival where men can show us their talents and skills. We want to find love, but it must be true love." King Chima looked into their eyes, seeing the earnestness shining back at him. He knew his daughters were different, their spirits free and wild. First he thought this was not a part of the tradition of the land, but nevertheless he thought maybe this was their way of finding love. So, with a nod and a heart full of hope, he agreed. "Let there be a festival," he announced, and the village stirred with excitement once more. Word spread like wildfire. From the corners of the village to lands far away, suitors prepared to win the hearts of the three princesses. They practiced their skills, polished their talents, and dreamt of love. The village buzzed with anticipation. Tailors sewed fine clothes, chefs prepared feasts, and musicians tuned their instruments. This was going to be a festival like no other. The princesses watched as the village transformed. They saw the eagerness in the eyes of the suitors, the joy in the hearts of the villagers. They didn't know what the festival would bring, but they felt a flutter of excitement in their own hearts. Maybe, just maybe, among the jesters, the poets, and the warriors, they would find the ones who could see beyond the crowns, the ones who could see them. As the day of the festival drew near, the air filled with a sense of wonder. The princesses looked at each other, their smiles saying what words could not. They were ready to step into the unknown, ready to find love, but only if it was true. The village waited. The suitors readied themselves, and the stars watched from above. It was the beginning of something magical, something that could change their lives forever. The day of the grand festival arrived, shining bright with the sun's smile. The village square was alive, buzzing like a beehive with excitement. Men from the village and lands far away came, their hearts set on winning the princesses. They came dressed in their finest, muscles gleaming, smiles wide, and gifts in hand. Some brought gold, others boasted of their lands, and many showed off their strength and beauty, each hoping to catch the eye of a princess. The princesses watched quietly, their eyes sparkling with mischief. They saw the efforts of the suitors, each trying to outdo the other. But deep in their hearts, they knew that gold and strength were not what they sought. They wanted someone who could see beyond the surface, who could understand their hearts. So, as the sun began to dip, casting golden light across the village, the princesses stood before the crowd. "We have a challenge," they announced, their voices clear and strong. "To win our hearts, you must do more than show your wealth or strength. You must guess our real names." A hush fell over the crowd. Names? But who knew the princesses' names? They were known far and wide as the three foolish princesses. Their real names a mystery lost to all. The suitors were stunned. Guess their names. It was a task that seemed impossible. They had prepared to show their might and wealth, not to guess names. Murmurs spread through the crowd, a mix of confusion and curiosity. How could they find the names of the princesses? But the princesses stood firm, their challenge hanging in the air like a riddle. It was a test not of wealth or strength, but of wisdom and patience. They wanted to see who would look beyond the titles, who would take the time to truly know them. The village buzzed with questions. How will they find the names? Is it a quest? A puzzle? The suitors looked at each other, their confidence shaken. The princesses watched, a smile playing on their lips. They had turned the tables, challenging the suitors to look beyond the surface, to seek a deeper connection. As the festival ended, the suitors left with their minds buzzing. They had come to show off their best, only to be met with a challenge they had not expected. The princesses had shown their cleverness, making it clear that they sought a love that was true, a love that saw beyond the crowns and the titles. The village whispered of the princesses' test, wondering who, if anyone, could rise to the challenge. It was a story that would be told for days to come, a tale of three princesses who sought love in their own unique way. The challenge had been set, and now it was up to the suitors to find the answers. The quest for the princesses' names had begun. In the village where everyone was busy guessing and whispering about the princesses' challenge, there lived a man named Okon. Okon was known to all, but not for reasons one might expect. He was the village drunkard, often seen stumbling and mumbling, his days spent in a haze of laughter and wine. Most considered him foolish, a man of no consequence. But beneath the surface, there was more to Okon than met the eye. When Okon heard about the princess's challenge, something stirred within him. He saw what others didn't, a chance, a glimmer of hope. Why not me, he thought. Why can't I win the hearts of the princesses? So, with a determination that surprised even himself, Okon set out on a quest to discover the true names of the three princesses. Day after day, Okon followed the princesses, not too close, just a shadow among the trees. He watched them laugh and play, their spirits as free as the birds above. But no matter how closely he listened, their names remained a mystery. They called each other by nicknames, their bond a secret language of smiles and glances. Then one day fate took a hand. As the princesses wandered near the forest's edge, the youngest, full of joy and mischief, didn't see the hidden pit before her. With a gasp and a tumble, she fell in, her laughter turning to cries of fright. "Help!" she cried, her voice echoing through the trees. "Please, someone!" Okon, hidden behind a bush, watched in shock. This was his chance, not to win a challenge, but to do something good, something right. But before he could move, he heard the eldest princess shout, "Amma to the rescue!" And then the middle one, "Lila's coming too." Okon's eyes widened. Names, the names of the princesses spilled like precious gems. He watched as Amma and Lila worked together, finding a long stick to help their sister. "Hold on, Tina," they called, their voices filled with love and concern. With a heave and a hold, the sisters pulled Tina from the pit, their arms wrapping around her in a tight hug. Okon, hidden still, felt a warmth in his heart. He had found their names, but he had also seen the love they shared, a love that went beyond any challenge. Filled with a new resolve, Okon stepped out from his hiding place, his heart beating like a drum. He knew what he had to do. With a shout that carried across the village, he declared, "I know their names, Amma, Lila, Tina." The village turned in astonishment. Okon, the one they called a fool, had done what none could. He had discovered the secret that lay at the heart of the challenge. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Okon, but for the princesses too. They had found someone who saw beyond the games, someone who had taken the time to truly know them. As the news spread, the village buzzed with excitement. Okon, once the village drunkard, was now the talk of the town. His strategy, born of patience and observation, had revealed the true names of the princesses. It was a story that would be told for generations, a tale of unexpected heroism and the power of looking beyond appearances. As the village gathered, eyes wide and whispers loud, Okon stood before King Chima, the princesses by his side. The air was thick with anticipation. Okon, once thought a mere village drunkard, held the attention of all. "I know the names of your daughters," he declared proudly. "Ama, Leela, Tina." But Okon had one more surprise, a secret that would change everything. "I am not who you think I am," he began, his voice steady and strong. "I am Prince Okon, from a neighboring village. I came here not as a fool, but in disguise, to learn the true hearts of your daughters." The village gasped, eyes turning from Okon to the princesses, then back again. The man they had mocked was a prince, wise and cunning, who had seen past the game to the truth beneath. The princesses smiled at Okon, their eyes shining with respect and something deeper, a connection forged in understanding and kindness. They had seen many suitors, men of wealth and strength, but none had sought to know them as Okon had. He had shown wisdom, seeing beyond titles and appearances to the heart of who they were. King Chima, moved by Okon's revelation and his daughter's happiness, agreed to their marriages. "You have proven yourself wise and true," he said to Okon, "worthy of my daughters." The weddings were like no other, celebrations that filled the village with music, laughter, and joy. Ama, Leela, and Tina, the three princesses once thought foolish, stood proudly beside Prince Okon, their hearts united in love and respect. As the princesses set off with Prince Okon to begin their new lives, the village was left in a state of wonder. They had judged the princesses and Okon, labeling them foolish without truly seeing their hearts. But love, the princesses and Okon showed, was not about titles or appearances, but about understanding, respect, and seeing the true worth of a person. The story of the three princesses and Prince Okon became a legend, a tale of wisdom, equality, and the power of love. It was a reminder to all that true nobility comes not from birth or wealth, but from the wisdom of the heart and the courage to see beyond the surface. And so, as the sun set on the village, casting a golden glow over the land, the people whispered of the day's wonders, their hearts filled with a new understanding. The princesses and Prince Okon, now bound by love and wisdom, journeyed forward, their futures bright with promise, leaving behind a village forever changed by the lessons of their tale. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, share it with your family and friends, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.